Shabbat Shalawam, Yasharahla, Shabbat Shalawam, all praises be unto the Most High, Yahweh, Hashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh. Israel, today I want to look at, well, as we know from what the scripture says, we the Israelites are not meant to mix with the other nations. For example, me as an Israelite man, I am not meant to go and have a physical, sexual relationship, a marriage with a woman that is outside of the nation of Israel. That within itself is a forbidden act. So we are not to be taking part in anything in regards to this. However, this is not a shot across the bow against any brother or sister who may find themselves within this sort of scenario. So we've just got to push past it, and the truth must be told. So Israel, taking wives from the other nations. That would be the topic of this class. Let's go have a look at it. We'll start with Deuteronomy, with the classic scripture, which most of us here already know. But let's go have a look at it. So we want Deuteronomy chapter 7, and we're going to start at verse 3. So Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 3. I will go through to verse 4. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughters thou shalt not give unto him, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy sons from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of Yahweh be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. We would not want this to happen. So how do we know that this is addressing the other nations? If you go up, to the beginning of the chapter, you'll realize it's talking about all the other nations that the Most High removed from in front of the Israelites. He was referring to these nations. Do not give your sons over to them. Do not give your daughters over to them. For they shall lead your sons and daughters away from serving him. Which would be the case as these people live their culture, their history, their heritage. So if you are attached to them in this manner, sooner or later you perhaps will begin to start taking on the attributes of the other nations, which is leading you away from serving the Most High God. For as we know, most of what the other nations are about are against the Most High God, Yahweh Hashem, Mashiach, Yahweh. So from there, Israel, give me 1 second, family, 1 sec, Slakia. So yeah, from there, Israel, we're going to stay in Deuteronomy, and we're just going to go chapter 21 and 10. So that's Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse 10, Israel. And verse 10 reads, When thou goest forth to war, against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God has delivered them unto thine hands, and thou hast taken them captives. Verse 11. I will go through to verse 14. And seest amongst the captives a beautiful woman, and hast desire unto her. Thou wouldest have her to thine wife. Salakia, I'll go from verse 11 again, Israel. And seest amongst the captives of a beautiful woman, hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife. Verse 12. Then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and shall shave her head, and pare her nails. And she shall put the remnant of her captivity from off her, and she shall remain in thine house, and dwell her, and bewail her father and her mother a full moon. And after that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thine wife. So from what we're reading here, Israel, again, like I said, this is not something that we do in Israel. However, These scriptures show that there seem to be exceptions to that rule. However, bear in mind the procedure that followeth. After you say, yes, you want to take this woman to be your wife, however, she is of another nation, she has to go through a certain procedure. But do not lose the context. The context here is war. Possessing the woman via war. So it is talking about a total different thing compared to you just seeing a woman, any random woman out on the street and choose to go up onto that woman and make her your wife. This is a total different concept going on. Right, so from there, Israel, I want to take you, actually, let me finish that out from verse 13 and 14. Salakia there, Israel. And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail, which means mourn, her father and her mother a full moon, and after that thou shalt go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be thine wife. As we know, to go in unto a woman is to have sexual intercourse with her, which is what then maketh her your wife. Verse 14. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go. Whether she will be, thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. So you see, she is your possession. But if you were to be displeased with her and want to put her to a side, you cannot sell her for money, because you have humbled her. She has known the ways of the Most High God. That is what that is saying. You have humbled her. Right, now from there, Israel, we want to go to Exodus. Let's go have a look in the book of Exodus. We want chapter 34, and we'll have a look at verse 16, Israel. Exodus 34 and 16. And thou take of their daughters unto thy sons, and their daughters go a-whoring after their gods, and make thy sons go a-whoring after their gods. Again, this is actually in reference to what was being said later on in Deuteronomy. Let's make things all clear and transparent. Let's go up to verse 15. Verse 15. Lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a-whoring after their gods, and do sacrifices unto their gods, and one call thee, and thou cast eat, and thou eat of his sacrifice. Now verse 16 says, and thou take of their daughters. So we see what it is in reference to. It is the people of the land, the other nations. Taketh not their daughters and their sons unto yours. Otherwise, they will lead you away from serving your God, because in general, their history, culture, and heritage is opposite to the Most High God and is against. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation, as it said in Deuteronomy 7 and 4, the Most High could destroy you suddenly, Israel. And that is, we don't need that. We don't want to be destroyed. So from here, Israel, we want to go to Joshua. So we want Joshua 23. In verse 12. Bear with me, Israel, bear with me. All right, so that's 23 and 12. And I'll go through to verse 13, Israel. Else, if ye do in any wise go back. Else, if ye do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnants of these nations, even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them, and go in unto them, and they to you, Know for a certainty that Yahweh your God will no more drive out any of these nations from before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until ye perish from off this good land which the Lord Yahweh your God has given you. So that is literally going into what we have been saying here, Israel. We cannot mix. We cannot, as they say, integrate with the heathens. For to integrate with the heathens is to be of them, to be like them. And we are opposite. We are holy unto the Most High, Yahweh, Bahasham, Hamashiach Yahweh. So Israel, from there now, let us go and have a look. Let's drive it home now. We want Nehemiah chapter 13. So that's Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 23, and I'll go through to 27 to make the point. So Nehemiah chapter 13 and 23. In those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab. Today that will be like saying the so-called black man has taken on a Chinese woman to be her wife, or a Japanese woman to be a wife, for the Ammonites or the Japanese, and the Moabites or the Chinese. I'll go from top, verse 23. In those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab. And their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, and made them swear by God, saying, Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? So Nehemiah here is bringing back to memory that even our forefather Solomon had sinned in this regard, for he had taken on women from the other nations unto himself. And it is a sin according to the Most High God. So we cannot take part, Israel. So I will read from verse 25 and I'll go down to 27. And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, and made them swear by God, saying, Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Yet among many nations was there no king like him, who was beloved of his God, and God made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin. Verse 27. Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil? To transgress against our God in marrying strange wives? So again, in reference to calling this act evil, it is because it is against the will of God, against the commandments, and anything outside of that is evil. All praises be unto the Most High Yahweh Hashem, Mashiach, Kwamela, Yahweh Shai, for the knowledge. So from there, Israel. From there, we want to go to 1 Kings chapter 11. So we want 1 Kings chapter 11, and we want verse 2. Of the nations concerning which Yahweh said unto the children of Israel, Ye shall not go in unto them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. So here in 1 Kings, the Chronicles, it's making note that our king, beloved King Solomon, went off because of the love for heathen women. So from there we want Ezra, and we want Ezra chapter 9 and verse 2. So Ezra chapter 9 and 2. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves, and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yea, the hand of the princes and the rulers have been chief in this trespass. Ezra chapter 9 and 2. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves, and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yea, the hand of the princes and the rulers has been chief in this trespass. So again, even though we know full well that you are the seed of your father, and whatever your father is, that's what you are. So there's no dispute in regarding to if someone is an Israelite or not. If you are the seed of Israel, then that is what you are, despite of whom your mother might be. However, this is no consolation for going outside of your nation, for this is a sin. So that is twofold right there. So from Ezra, I want to go to Tobit in the Apocrypha to close it out. Because as again we say, we try to break through these barriers and make sure that we not trample, I should say, on anyone's belief. And the truth is, misconception of what things really are. So we want Tobit chapter 4 and verse 12. Verse 12 reads, Of all whoredom, my son, beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe. For we are the children of the prophets, know Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. So with all that, Yasharahla, I bid you, Yasharahla, I bid you farewell until the next Shabbat. Shalawam.